Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the weekly podcast. This is the podcast. Last time I asked you guys what you thought it should be named, and let's see what these comments say. I actually haven't read these. I've read a couple of them. I don't think I don't think you left anything. Oh, no, Abdul said the I'm Your Dad podcast. Armando said the Long Granddaddy podcast. And I think that's it. I thought someone else said something, but Long Granddaddy, I feel like they're just too long. I feel like Long Granddaddy's too long. I'm Your Dad podcast, that could work. I don't know. It's weird naming things because do they really need to be... Does the name really matter? Ear Biscuits is what the Rhett and Link podcast is named. There's nothing... Like, if I heard Ear Biscuits, I'm like, what does that have... I don't understand. Biscuits are... It's not like a biscuit, like a cookie. A biscuit is a breakfast thing. Rhett and Link are actually from a very close area from where I live, which is kind of weird because they are huge on YouTube and in more than just YouTube. They are huge in general. And it's kind of funny because I found them probably 3 years ago. And they were decently sized at that time. I think like at least 6 or 7 million viewers or subscribers. And I would watch their thing before going to class in college. And it wasn't really the kind of content I cared about because it seemed like I got to them when everyone else did. And then they realized younger people like the kind of stuff that's like eating challenges and singing challenges and just like challenges in general. And I'm like, I'll watch some of those, but I don't really care for that kind of content. I was really more interested in just hearing their longer stories because I was like, they're just naming these places in the places that they grew up, and I'm like, I know exactly where that is, and it's just really weird to think about how it's a small world when you think about it. These people know Post Malone, like they have. I listened to an Ear Biscuits recently, and they were talking about who's in your phone. And Rhett mentioned that Post Malone is in his phone as a contact. I'm like, wow. I know where that guy used to like get coffee. It's funny though because their podcast is completely I haven't watched any Good Mythical Morning in probably 3 years. I only watched it for about like 2 or 3 months. Because like I mentioned, it kind of moved towards stuff that I wasn't really too interested in. It seemed almost more to cater to children, which is fine, but it's just not the kind of stuff I care about. But then the podcast is kind of filling the area that I'm more interested in, which is hearing their longer form stories, because I think they're really interesting. I like listening to them. I think they're funny. People like to make dad jokes about them because they are exceptionally dad. People call me dad. I'm not dad. Those guys are dad. But I thought I like to always look at other people's strategies for YouTube. Because I want to see if I can learn anything. I've noticed their strategy was they're trying to cater to different demographics. The children seem to be the major demographic they go to, because that's what is the major demographic on YouTube in general. And so they have content for children, not necessarily just for children, but kind of geared towards children on Good Mythical Morning. Then they have like Good Mythical More, which I guess is kind of for children, but also not at the same time. And then they also have Ear Biscuits, which is longer form. I don't think kids listen to podcasts. Maybe you guys do. I don't know. Maybe there are kids listening to this, but I feel like kids usually, and I'm not talking like 15 years old. I'm talking more like 8 years old. I think those kids younger, they just want to see something really quick. They don't have the time to listen to something because it's just kind of boring. I always thought that our generation, is it my generation? Like the younger generations were moving towards really quick stuff. That's why I thought Vine was going to be really big. I know it was pretty big, but I'm surprised they got rid of it because I guess it wasn't so much the product's fault. It was more the way they were trying to monetize it. or the lack of monetization that caused the issues. Because I thought, oh wow, I thought when I first heard about Vine, I'm like, this is genius. 7 seconds. People can barely read a book. People can barely read a page in a book. Like, I remember in high school, people would just, it seemed like they always had to have something going on. And it's just like they're constantly looking at their phone because they need some stimulation. Because from what I see, social media is just as addictive as like alcohol or anything else. It's a different kind of drug that's not an actual drug, but it still is mentally addicting. And so people they see the notification and they're like, oh, I got to click on that. I do it too. Whenever I see a notification on YouTube, I'm always like, I got to click on it immediately. Or I'll even go searching for it, which is a really bad thing to do. This doesn't have to do with Vine so much, but I was thinking about how I might take a break from everything just to try to go on a cleanse. Because you know how people will go on juice cleanses if they're eating really unhealthily? Is that eating really unhealthy? Why did I say unhealthy? If they're eating unhealthy, they'll do a juice cleanse and they'll just stop eating poor foods and they'll eat like only liquids of fruit and vegetables. I don't know if that's actually healthy for you, but people do it. I was thinking about going on a social media cleanse, and just going to like Wyoming and living on a farm. And that seems kind of random, and it is kind of random, but also John Mayer did something similar because he went to Montana. He still actually, I think, owns a ranch in Montana. And whenever he feels like the LA life is too much involved, he just goes to a different world in Montana. And I didn't steal the idea from John Mayer, although they're similar. But I actually had the idea of going to Wyoming and just like living in the woods a really long time ago. Like when I was 10, which is kind of strange for a 10-year-old to be like, when I grow up, I'm going to live in the woods. But it's true. Because my dad used to live in Wyoming, and he always said it was nice and peaceful. I like talking to people, but I also kind of like not talking to people. It just depends on what my mood is. And to be honest, whenever, like, I have a love-hate relationship with the internet. I like how much flexibility it gives and how it provides opportunities for people that would not have normally been there. And I like how easy it is to get information. But then I hate how much people just love attention. Because I don't like attention that much. I like creating stuff that gets attention, but I don't want the attention personally because I don't care. I want to create, my whole point of creating YouTube. I created YouTube. My whole point of creating videos and like music and anything is because I want people to enjoy it. And I get the most satisfaction when someone enjoys something that I've made. And I don't care if I get personal credit. I just want to know that it was someone's day improved. Like the nicest comments I ever get when someone's like, man, I was having a bad day, then I saw this and it cheered me up. Because that means a lot. Because I've been there before where I've just been having a bad day, or I was like, man, I'm so tired. I hate everything. And then I'll go on YouTube and I'll see a funny video. I'm like, yes, this makes it all worth it. Or like I need podcasts to get through the week. And I look forward every Thursday and Friday because my job is pretty boring, to be honest. It's not something I look forward to. So then every Thursday and Friday, I'm like, yes, I got these 2 days, new podcasts. You have the Views podcast, which I really enjoy on Thursday, the Tiny Mate Gang podcast on Friday. And I genuinely just look forward to those days. So I wanted to move to Wyoming and just live there and just cleanse myself of the internet. Because I get into this bad habit, which I'm pretty sure a lot of people do, where you just look at the internet and you find like something. People get on Twitter and just get into arguments over stuff that it might be important or it might not be important, but some of the stuff they say is just so blatantly dumb, or just like the thing that really bothers me is how politics in the United States has taken over Twitter. And it seems like that is how people push things just on the internet. And it's not so much like they're actually making valid points and backing up their facts. They're just trying to get retweets. And for politicians, I'm not talking about Republican, Democrat. I'm talking about everyone. No one is excluded. They're just trying to push retweets to push an agenda. And it's so infuriating because that's not what... I can understand to a certain extent if you're a social media star, you're going to have an agenda. Your whole life revolves around retweets and favorites and getting engagement on social media because that's how you've made your career. So that's fine. But then like politics are supposed to be more than that. And I know they aren't. It's not, even before social media, it wasn't like this, but it's just a new avenue for them to use to push agendas. But I hate it. I genuinely despise it. And it's really annoying, and it always makes me like hate the internet whenever I go on and I just see these threads of people arguing and they're like, whoa, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, everyone here has a valid point. Everyone here has something to stand on. They have a leg to stand on. But you guys are you're just saying you're in an echo chamber, and you find your community that has the same point, and you just talk to them and they all repeat it back to you, and you're like, I am so smart, look at my retweets. And then you talk, and then someone else comes over and they're like, well, actually, I believe it's the other way around. And you're like, no, you're dumb. Look at all my retweets. And then all your retweeted followers like attack that one person. And it's counterproductive to just attack any opposing opinion. It's counterproductive in the sense of actually moving forward society and creating new ideas, but it's productive in the sense of propelling your own status as a social media star or like a politician. I just like that's what drives me over the edge and makes me want to uninstall all social media and just live in the woods. And to go on, like I have a thing about just stripping everything away and starting from basics. I think that's why my favorite channel is Primitive Technology. My favorite show growing up was Man vs. Wild with Bear Grylls, and I wasn't so much a fan of like him just living or him moving forward. I always thought it was cool to see how you would be self-sustainable. So I always liked fishing, and I liked how he would build things out of natural resources, because I thought in the nucleus of what life is, it's just about survival. Like when you take away everything else, the most important thing that everything bases off of at the very foundation of life is just being able to survive. And this is going back to where you had to just focus on that and nothing else mattered. Because we live in a world today where, luckily, we don't have to actually struggle to find, well, most of us, we don't have to struggle to find food, shelter. It's kind of just been handed to us. I know there are certainly millions of people, or even possibly billions, who are not as fortunate, who are face poverty and stuff like that and homelessness. But for the majority of the people who would listen to this, it's going to be people who have just kind of been handed to it. Myself definitely 100% included in that. And I always thought that I take the approach in life that nothing is really that serious, because people, like the thing about working at Chick-fil-A, the thing that just drove me nuts was people would freak out. Not only the customers, but the people I would work with, the owner, they would freak out about like getting people their food as quickly as possible, being as friendly as possible, having no hiccups in the drive-through lane. And then there you got like people stressing out and like yelling at the kitchen, and the kitchen's yelling back, and it's like hectic and it's absolute chaos. And it's not like the people are rude or anything. It's just they're getting really stressed out because it's a high stress, high pressure situation. And I would never get stressed out because it's just not in my nature, really. I'm just kind of like, I'll absorb whatever happens, because in the end, I think I'll probably survive this. It's not like I'm going to die. And the thing that always stuck with me was, it's just chicken. Like I I remember this one time this woman didn't get her order properly. She wanted a grilled chicken, or no, she wanted a fried chicken sandwich, but instead got grilled. And she was holding up the entire drive-thru lane in the middle of lunch. And like I was the guy who is handing people the food outside the window, if you've ever seen that at Chick-fil-A. And so we realized she didn't have the correct order. So then we told her to like pull up and go to a stop sign, and then I would run her the food. And then the reason you do that is because you want more cars to come through, because it's all about serving the most cars within the hour. So I got the bag and I ran it up to the stop sign, and I said, "Here's your order. Is this correct?" And blah, blah, blah. And then she goes, "No, I wanted grilled, or I wanted fried, not grilled." I'm like, "Oh, okay." And then I'm like, "Oh, crap, this is kind of a bad situation because I can't just magically whip up a fried chicken sandwich with all this stuff on it." So then I had to make her pull into the parking lot, and then like it just throws off the whole system that we had going. I wasn't really that nervous because I didn't care, but I was kind of like, this is just an unfortunate situation, because I was thinking about how my removal from that one position is causing everyone else to be affected. Eventually she got her damn sandwich and it was fine. Everything in the world was okay. It was just a fried chicken sandwich. But then that was the talk for like the rest of the day. And the entire time I'm just thinking, it's just like a chicken sandwich. And you're just wondering if it's fried or grilled. And I'm not blaming her because she ordered something and didn't get it. So she's entitled to her chicken sandwich. But it's just chicken. Like, there's no reason to be stressing over chicken when you have other people in the world who are stressing over like just literally eating food. People who have to put water in milk to kind of get more liquid to drink. People who have to eat mud cakes in Haiti because they don't have food. And then you're like, it's just in the scope of things, it doesn't matter. And that's what I always hated about that job, because everyone took it super seriously, at least the upper management. And I guess they should, but I mean, it's just chicken. Where was I going with this? Oh, I don't really know. That was one story about Chick-fil-A. Oh, I have another story about Chick-fil-A. I don't know if you guys like hearing these. You probably do. I had been there for like a month and a half or maybe 2 months. And because they were always really confused why I was working there, because I went to a good school in this area that like everyone, if you say it by name, they're like, "Oh, you went there?" I'm not saying that to brag, but it's just kind of how it is. And then I had a double major, and then I had a minor. So it looks pretty good on a resume. And then they're always like, "So why are you here?" And I'm like, "Oh, I just couldn't get a job anywhere else." And they're like, "Okay." And then they realized that I was pretty quick to learn things, and I was calm under pressure, and like I would definitely make mistakes, no doubt about that, but I would quickly learn from the mistakes, and then I might do it like once or twice more, but then I'd eventually get it down. So then they had me at the window during this, because the main person who was doing it was on vacation or something. So on Monday I come in, and at lunch he's like, "All right, you're just going to watch me and I'm going to show you how you do it. It's pretty easy." I'm like, "Okay." And it's really hectic. There are tons of cars. Like, we would serve 200 plus cars in an hour. And so what my job was is it was that I had to look at the screen to see what order was coming, because that would indicate what car was coming to the window. So then I would have to grab a bag from the left, hand it to this person outside, who would then give the bag to the person eating the food, and then I would have to prepare the next bagger, or the baggeress, to the next person coming. It like that probably made no sense to you because it's really complicated to explain and you have to be there. But basically you're like naming one person to the bagger, and then one person to the person giving the food to the customer. So names are just flying all over the place. And then sometimes the person on the screen is not the person outside, because cars like would get out of order because they don't know what we're doing. They don't know how we figure it out. So it's not really that simple. And so I was doing, he showed me how to do it the first day, and I'm like, this is really awful. I don't want to do this at all. But I didn't say that because that's not your approach. You got to be like, I can do anything. So then he showed me the first day, and I tried it a little bit, and I was okay, but I kind of needed help a couple times, like when it got a little bit too hectic. And then I thought, all right, well, tomorrow's going to suck. I guess I have to learn how to do that again. And then I come in Tuesday, and they're like, all right, Jared, you're on window. And I'm like, wait, like by myself? And they're like, yep, we trust you. And then I'm like, this is just not going to go well. And I mean, I held my own for about 35 minutes into lunch, but then your brain scrambles at certain points, and it's just like, I don't actually know what I'm doing, and I'm trying to think, but then you don't have enough time to think, and you just kind of get blank. And I ended up handing out the wrong food to one person or something. I don't know what happened. I gave the person the wrong food, or like the person at the window was not the correct order, but then they took the food and went away. So I gave someone else the wrong food. So then that throws off the next person because their food is with the person in front of them. And I just kind of I didn't freak out, but I just kind of shut down, and I didn't say anything because I'm like, I need to pull this together. But then everyone around me is just freaking out, and they're like, whoa, the chicken. And so then they pulled me off of window, and they're like, just help someone with drinks. I'm like, okay, that's fine. I don't know why I wasn't doing this in the first place. And then so I go and do the drinks, and then someone who has been working there for like 3 years takes over and does window perfectly fine. And then I'm like, this is just so stupid. Why am I doing this? And then they put me back on window when we got to a stopping point, probably like 50 minutes in, and I'm like, oh crap, I don't want to do this again. And then I make a mistake again, and I throw everything off almost immediately. So they're like, oh crap, we got the chicken. So then the chicken orders were mixed up, and someone got the incorrect chicken product, and they put me back on the drinks, and then that was it. And I never had to do it again. And a certain part of me was kind of like, well, I should have just kind of been bad from the beginning, and it would have saved everyone heartache. Because there's no reason I should have done that. They shouldn't have put me there. It just made no sense. They assumed, well, this guy has 2 degrees and a minor, and he graduated really early. He's a super genius. I'm not that smart. I was a pretty good worker. I was a hard worker. But it's not like if you just took Albert Einstein and you're like, Albert, I need you to be able to call out these simultaneous names because it's important for a chicken industry. He would not be like, okay, I can do that. He'd be like, I have other things to do. It doesn't have to do with being smart. It just has to do with muscle memory and being experienced in that situation. That is the chicken story. Is this the chicken podcast? I don't know. I'm trying to think of other stories I have from work, because I worked in the food industry, and the food industry is just weird. I wanted to do those short stories, like He Got It On Me. That was a funny story. I don't know what to do. What are 25 minutes in? Let's look at some of these comments. I think I want to do these almost every podcast where I ask you guys, hey, ask me questions, because it's good interaction. And yeah. Let's see what happened. Did anyone say? Daniel Quidada said, and stance on Christian Pulisic. Just a completely neutral third party. Don't mind the profile pic. Wondering if you rate him. He has the Dortmund profile picture. Daniel, I don't know if you know this, but I'm also a Borussia Dortmund fan, and I really like Christian Pulisic. I think he's not the best player in Dortmund. But he's up there. I think he plays a crucial role. And I really rate him. I hope they don't sell him, because I know that there have been rumors that he's going to go to Liverpool, that he's going to go to the Premier League. I think even someone said that he might go to Bayern Munich, which I highly doubt, because he's good, but I don't think he's Bayern Munich level yet. I mean, he could definitely develop into it, because I don't even know if he's 20. and he's already shown that he can play really well in one of the top leagues in Europe. I hope that he doesn't, because I think it would stunt his development, because I don't think he'd get regular first team football. And yeah, that I hate Bayern Munich too. They always take every Dortmund player. But the reason I like him is because he plays like a European, even though he's American. The thing that Americans always do is they play football. They approach football in a weird, like, kind of structured manner. This is something that I think British people have struggled with as well over the years. Not so much now, but the reason that I think South American teams have always tended to be good is because of their creativity. And I'm not talking about a team like Peru. No, I guess Peru to a certain extent. But I'm not talking about teams that are kind of just... actually, I'm trying to say... No, it pretty much exists for every South American team. They have a flair to them and a creativity that they understand that football isn't a game to be regulated with like strict plays. Like in American football, you don't really have a ton of creativity because you're kind of structured on a play. Like if you're a wide receiver and you're supposed to run a post route and you just run a drag route, you've just completely messed up everything. Some of you guys might not know what that means, but say you're supposed to run it like that, or you're supposed to run like that. If you just run in a circle as a wide receiver, you've thrown off the play. And there are definitely places you can be creative, but to be honest, excluding basketball and maybe hockey, American sports don't tend to lend themselves towards creativity, in my opinion. Definitely not in baseball. Like you can't be creative in baseball, which I always thought was kind of... That's the sport I always played, and it was kind of a downer because I always felt that my creativity was one of my stronger assets, and it was always stunted a little bit. The only place that I felt you could be kind of creative was when you were pitching, which is why I really like pitching, because you had multiple pitches you could work with, you had locations you could go, different speeds you could throw. So that's what Christian Pulisic offers. He offers creativity and skill and flair on the wing that most Americans don't seem to have. And he learned it, I think, from the European setup. Like if you look at the players in Dortmund, that's why I always liked them, because they had the Germans have always had flair about them, but they've also been really structured, which is why they've been good the last like 12 years. Because they understand that it's about balance, and it's not good to just be flair. Because a team like Peru had a ton of flair, a ton of creativity in this World Cup, but they weren't structured enough in the back, so they're already eliminated from the tournament, and they played really well. Most people say they played really well. I think they played well offensively, but in terms of midfield structure and defensively, I thought they were lacking. And yeah, so I like him. I like the Dortmund team. I really like... I always forget the English guy who knew at Dortmund, because I don't get to watch as much Dortmund as I like. It's kind of hard. You do get the Bundesliga in the United States, but not as much. I don't watch it as much as the Premier League, so I see more Tottenham Hotspur than I do Borussia Dortmund. But yeah, I rate Christian Pulisic. I hope he doesn't leave for less than like 70 million euros. 70 million euros I'd be happy with. I thought Ousmane Dembele was like leaps and bounds ahead of him, and I still do. I think most people probably do, but I still think Christian Pulisic is close, and it's good to be surrounded by that kind of those kinds of creative players, because they help to improve you. All right, that was from Daniel. Let's see what other... Joseph Nil says, #HelpMeDad. I have no one really around me that can share the love of football and talk about the World Cup. I agree with you. Well, I mean, I agree with you. I agree with your statement. I agree that I also don't have a ton of people who can share the love of football. That's why I kind of like going on YouTube, because you guys like it. The brotern. What did he say? Oh, he said this week If you guys don't know who the brotern is, he's the new intern who's kind of a bro at my job, and I like him. I think he's funny. He's fun to talk to, but he doesn't know anything about football, and you can just tell by the way he talks about it. But in the Japan Colombia game, there was a red card that Colombia got in like the 3rd minute. So then they had to play down to 10 men for the whole game pretty much. And so I said, "Oh, wow." Or he told me, "Dude, did you see Colombia lost to Japan?" And I said, "Yeah, man. They had a red card in like the 3rd minute, so they had to play with 10 players for like the rest of the game." He goes, "Oh, dude, wow, that's crazy." And then probably about an hour 30 minutes later, he just randomly says to me, "So does that mean like Colombia has to play with 10 players the next game?" And I said, "Oh, no, that's not how it works." And there's nothing wrong with not knowing about football, but it's funny because he just acts like he does in situations. We were at lunch. We were out to lunch on Friday because we do company lunches, and the Switzerland-Serbia game was on. And yet again, I was literally the only one at the table who could not watch the game. There's a table full of like 7 people, and I had to sit at the head of the table, and the TV was behind us. And they saw the Mitrovic goal, a header, in like within the first 10 minutes, I think. I don't know. And I just see his reaction. He goes, "Oh, dude, what a ball." He didn't say what a ball. He said, "Oh, dude, great pass. Yo, he kicked that really well. Oh, dude, and he just hit it with his head like bang. Oh, dude." And I'm just sitting there, damn it. I just want to turn around and look. So I can't talk football with anyone, really. I talked with you guys, and you guys seem to know. I go and read a lot of stuff on Reddit, soccer, which, I mean, it's good. I feel like people on Reddit always seem to try to be too much of an expert when they don't know. Not saying I like know more than them, but I'm just saying people will Google something and then be like, "It is this. This is the correct answer." And then that's not really the point. It's to see, like in a conversation, if you're talking about football with someone and you go, "What country is George Weah from?" It's not like you Google it and then you go, "He is from Liberia." You would just say, "Oh, I don't know. I might Google that." But then people on Reddit will go, "Google George Weah. He is from Liberia. He is from Liberia." And then they'll also mention like where he played, and they'll just take his Wikipedia page and enter it in just because they want karma or whatever it is. I don't know how it works. And that goes back to my whole social media thing about it being addictive and people being like obsessed with being knowledgeable that I don't care for. So I talk to people on the internet, but then I like to explain things to people if they don't know and if I can explain it. Like if it's the whole thing about the Colombia not playing with 10 men the next game. Like there's nothing wrong with him not knowing that because he doesn't know. But I don't mind explaining to him. So I like to talk anything I can about football, or it doesn't have to be football. Anything I can about whatever the subject matter is, just as long as I don't feel like I'm being a know-it-all and I don't feel like I am in over my head. Sometimes I have to talk because my job deals with software, and sometimes I have to talk about software with people, and I don't know anything about software, to be honest. I didn't study anything about computers in college. So I'll be like, "Yeah, like 8-core server, man. Yeah, that's a lot of DDR hardware. Yeah, and the GPUs, man, cryptocurrency." And I don't know what I'm doing. Those are the kind of conversations I don't like to be in. But just find someone who might be interested, I guess. Don't be afraid to ask people. The World Cup is nice because it helps to be a starting point for conversation, so you can find out maybe there is someone that likes soccer that you didn't know. Maybe there's someone who has a small interest but they don't have anyone to talk to, so they can't learn. Whatever it may be. Maybe the brotern in 3 years will like suddenly know a ton. Because to be honest, 4 years ago I understood football, but I didn't really know the tactics behind it. I didn't understand overlapping runs and like how important the second ball is, and just little instances that you only learn from watching. And so I've watched a ton of football over the last like 4 years, and it's just helped. So the brotern next World Cup, he might be talking to a different brotern. He might be a fully fledged bro, not just a brotern. And it could be role reversal. I don't know. Whatever may happen. Anything else? Okay, nothing else. If you guys have any questions, please leave those down below. We're about 36 minutes in. There's one more topic that I want to talk about. And that topic is the video I made yesterday. It's not even a video, really. It's like a 16-minute clip in which I replicate the Tony Kroos goal. And I think you guys liked it. I think it was a good strike. I don't think it was identical because I didn't realize how tight the angle was that he shot it from. I saw that goal live. That was incredible. I mean, that is what the whole World Cup experience is about. That's what football is about, just exciting moments. And there's a great picture online of Kroos, the ball's in mid-flight. And it's so picture perfect because I can almost slow down that moment when I see the ball curve around. I'm like, wow. He really just banged it in from there. But what I want to talk about is when I had to make that video. Oh, I didn't have to make it. But when I was making that video, first of all, I want to know if you guys think that's a good series. Because to be honest, FIFA's kind of, I don't enjoy it as much as I used to. And I want to still have football content because I really do enjoy football. Like, it's one of the most important things for me. And I really look forward to everything football related. FIFA's just not football for me. It's just a video game that is guised under football, but it's not the same thing. So I was thinking about recreating World Cup goals, recreating just any moments in football history, I really wanted to do Higgins training because I wanted to get better at football because I think I'm okay at football, but it's not that great. And something I really enjoy is just going to an empty field by myself, setting up cones and like doing dribbling moves, and then setting up a cone as a defender and then trying to get past the last defender and then curl it into the corner. And I'm like decent. I've gotten way better because I used to play a ton by myself, just doing that almost every day. I would do that, go to the park. And so I want to know if that's a series idea you'd be interested in. I think it is. It's just a little difficult to film because I'm by myself. But also, when I was going to film this video, it was so difficult to find a place to play. Because I can think of, off the top of my head, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6 places to play football, to play soccer where I live. But almost every single one, the field is just closed. Like, the field is closed because they're fixing the grass or something, or the field is closed because it's private property because it's a school. I used to play a lot at this elementary school that has a soccer field, but it's on sand, and it's terrible. You have any grass patches you have, it's not even the kind of grass you want to play on. It's kind of just weeds, and then there's sand. And I went there, and they've built like a gate around it, so you're not even allowed to go in anymore. And I'm like, well, this is where I was supposed to play. So I knew I wanted to film that video. So I got dressed. I went to place 1, which I've recently discovered, which was my go-to place. That's where I filmed the videos, like the pepper challenge that I was shooting free kicks and stuff like that. So that place is good because it's pretty quiet. The goals are nice. The field is nice, but it is closed because they were fixing the turf. So, I mean, it's whatever. They're fixing the turf. But then I went to a second place, which is nearby to that first one. And they were also fixing the turf. Like, the grass was messed up, so they're fixing it there. So I'm like, well, this is annoying. So then I went to another place, and that place was just locked, like closed. No one was playing on the field. They don't allow the public to play there because I guess it's for clubs only. It's not a football club. It's just like, I guess it's part of the university owns it, and they don't want people to mess up the field. So that was just locked. Not even field being renovated, just closed. So then I went to the elementary school. Like I said, it's a terrible field, but I just was desperate to find a goal. And it was locked. and there's a fence around it, and it's on sand anyway, so it's terrible. So then luckily I went to this last place, which is a field that is also terrible, but it's dirt, and I happened to find an area with grass, although it's kind of weedy, not really the kind of grass you want to be playing on. And they happen to have the goals up. Usually they don't. Like, I would say 30% of the time there's a goal there. The other 70% of the time it's just an outfield. Like, this is the baseball field, and this isn't the outfield that I was shooting this. And so I was lucky that it was there, because otherwise I wouldn't have been able to film the video. But the point I'm trying to make is I live in a part of the United States where soccer, football is relatively big. Not so much in the fact that people really they talk about it a lot, but the local club is actually really good. Like the club system that the young players through age 16 or something is actually really good. And if I'm not mistaken, the under 12s or under 13s, when I was about 12 or 13, I didn't play football growing up, so I wasn't on it. But the under 12s or under 13s actually beat the Chelsea Academy for the same age group, which was a huge deal because it meant that they would be regularly playing against European clubs or something. I don't know if that's true, but I know they beat Chelsea, their under 13 academy, and everyone was talking about it. And I knew a couple of people who were playing on the team. And so even despite the fact that we're in a part of the United States that soccer is relatively big, it took me 45 minutes to find a field just to play on, and it's a terrible field. And that's part of the reason why football in the United States is not good, because it's reserved mainly for people who can go afford to join a club and then go to practice. If you want to be a footballing nation, look at Brazil, look at Argentina. These are not rich countries. But why are they successful? Because kids go out and play football for fun. And it's not like I'm asking for people in the United States to just build giant fields. Like, I need a dedicated space for football that is 100 yards long and 50 yards wide and has great green grass and goals. I'm not asking for that. I'm just literally asking for a goal. Like, give me a space and a goal, and that's fine. In Brazil, futsal is big because they have courts that you can play football on, or they have fields where you can play football on, or they have goals. And they just don't have that in the United States. And the equivalent is basketball in the United States. Like, in the summer, people go to the basketball court because it's easy to play. You have a goal already. All you need is a ball. Football could be the exact same thing. If you just have goals set up in public, like, you could even have it in New York City. Just have an area with a basketball court and then put the futsal thing, like put a goal there. People will bring their soccer balls, their footballs, and just shoot and have fun. And it would spark interest in communities that are not generally allowed into football in the United States because they don't have enough money. And that's how you grow something. They don't need to do this whole thing about throwing out the entire United States Federation. I mean, they kind of do because they've messed up in understanding how grassroots football is. But the idea is just so simple. Just allow for underprivileged urban kids the opportunity to play football. You'll find that with a greater sample size, you'll find better players. With these people who realize that football could be a way out from urban life that might be poverty, might be homelessness, they would invest themselves in that. Currently, they're investing themselves in basketball. But there are certainly some people who would be interested in football, who would play it, who would be very athletic, who would be good at it, and would help the United States national team. I don't understand why they don't do it, but whatever. All right, 45 minutes is up. I think that was a good podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Leave your comments as per usual. Any questions? Let me know anything you want. Please answer my questions down below. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you guys next week. And as always, don't forget to spay your pets.